Hey everybody, do you have a genuine thirst for wanting to serve customers better and grow your business? Well, we hope the answer is yes, and if it is, please stick with us for a great show, and we have a wonderful rock and roll story, St. Louis style at the end. We'll see you in a few. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to SimpleBiz360. My name is Jeff Mason, and I am your host for this adventure. We are on episode 116. We have never missed a week on Thursday morning since we started in October of 2019. Thank you to Half Coast Studios, and thank you to Matt, who's working the boards today. We really appreciate everything those guys do. This is our New Year episode, so Happy New Year to all the listeners and viewers. And we have a table full of props here that are all going to come together nicely eventually. But we just wanted to do a kind of a teaser and just let you know what we are trying to accomplish, how we are trying to serve people by doing what we do. And we really want to start by saying that we are a show that asks tons of questions. We are a question-oriented show. We stir the thought process pot, if you will. So, the thought processes of how we are all doing our own business and what we can improve on. Well, we want to kind of stir that pot with you, get you to think about things you might not have ever thought about, and to think about things that can change the trajectory of your business. They really can, and it's things that I've been looking at for 30 years, so I bring a 30-year focus to this show, and we try to just answer some questions, but we ask way more questions to get you to think than we ever will answer for you. So we just hope that you could leave this show thinking about what we call overlooked and ignored business principles. That's right. We look at stuff that most other people overlook and ignore. What if each week you could leave going back to your offices or going back to your just thought centers where you sit and think? And wouldn't it be cool if you could just think about your business issues, kind of rewind your tape, and just examine the way you've been doing business and ask yourself important questions? So what if each week you could leave the show understanding more about the business experience than you did before you came into the show? And most importantly, what if you could leave the show and begin to ask yourself tons of questions that could lead to bona fide improvements? And we say here that it's to improve the results, let's look at improving the how we do business. So if you're a first-time listener or viewer, let's just kind of recap what I mean by that, and we'll dive into some real examples. But I'm going to use a big company perspective so you get a really crystallized idea of what this is all about. Let's go to Scott Bedbury's book called A New Brand World, put out in the mid-'90s. Or actually, I think it was early 2000s, but this references the mid-'90s. Scott was an executive with Nike under the Just Do It campaign, and he went over to Starbucks. And he went to Starbucks, and at Starbucks, they decided to do what they call the big dig. And he wanted to reverse engineer, kind of isolate and identify the brand identity of Starbucks. So they got into this research project called the Big Dig. And they went back and they looked at coffee shops for hundreds of years and the whole atmosphere around coffee shops. Then they looked at coffee itself and everything you could possibly think of about coffee. And then they looked at, everything they possibly could about the customer coming into a Starbucks. What are the expectations? What are the experiences? What is this all when it's said and done? How do we bottle this up and understand what the Starbucks DNA is? So what they discovered was that at the end of all this, they were an atmospheric brand. And I think this next quote best exemplifies what they were shooting for. Is Howard Schultz, the CEO at the time, went in, was having a discussion with a barista, and the barista said, Mr. Schultz, the brand identity basically of, I'm paraphrasing, of Starbucks is quite simple. We are not serving coffee to people. We are serving people coffee. And I said, bingo, this is it. This is where we are. We are now in an experiential business atmosphere where it's the experience, it's the how we do business that oftentimes is the team of horses pulling the cart of results. It's kind of almost reversed itself from the product and the service, so to speak. It's how we go about doing business. And that's what we love to look at because it's hidden in those questions and hidden in those answers how you can improve your business. So I'm going to start with six really cool story or five cool stories just to kind of illuminate this for you, if you will. But one was just recently told to me by a friend of mine that he's a big cable supplier. He needs a lot of cables, and I think he was in a parts store, and he was going in to purchase some parts that he needed. And the person behind the parts desk was just not paying attention to him at all. And minutes clicked by, and in 5 minutes now, and no recognition or acknowledgement that this individual was standing at the parts desk. Finally, the gentleman, turned around and, was on the phone, and he said, "Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm with a really big customer, a $250,000 customer," I believe is how the story went. And, what a statement to say to that individual on the other side of the desk. Now, what does that individual do? Do they just swallow that and move on, or do they do business and that transaction, once it's done, they never come back again? Well, it obviously made this individual feel less than a desired customer. And the question is, are we making our customers feel like that less desired customer? Give you another example. And folks, as you do life, as you do business, as you're out and about, listen to your surroundings, listen to the things that are going on. Really dissect conversations you're having with vendors, customers, and suppliers. Really understand what's going on. And so here's a perfect example. My wife and I were at the dinner a couple Sundays ago, and we were sitting in a booth. So you had to kind of walk and step up into this booth on this platform and then sit down in this it was really a nice booth. Great restaurant. We love the restaurant. And so here come two ladies, and one lady's walking with a cane, and she's hobbling, and she's obviously got like a little hitch in her walk. And the hostess comes up to seat them, and hostess says, "Okay, here's your booth right here." And the woman says, "Oh, honey, I'm sorry. I have a really bad hip, and I walk with a cane. I don't think there's any way I'm going to get my hip up over that ledge. Is there any way you can give me that foretop that has nobody on it? I would really like that foretop over there." "No, I'm sorry. We can't seat anybody there for 30 minutes. So so in essence, this lady was stuck. Right? It's either, hey, and here's what I'm getting at. I'm wearing this little lanyard around my neck. It's WBL for weight bearing load. What happened here, in a nutshell, if you dissect it, is this restaurant was obviously trying to cater to an equitable distribution of tables for the wait staff to make sure that every wait staff had an opportunity to kind of walk away that night with the same amount of money, right? So they were rotating tables, most likely, I'm assuming. So what they were really saying is, hey, lady, we want to make life easy for us here inside the restaurant, and we're going to transfer that weight-bearing load to you. So if you want to eat in this restaurant, you better fix your hip, get that thing, up onto that rise, and leverage your weight on your cane or whatever, however you need to do it to get in that seat. Because, lady, if you're eating here today, you're eating in this booth. Now, okay. So is that really a great experience? And we'll get to the punchline in a minute. But, just think about those two stories so far and how they resonate with you, right? Or what about where my wife and I are in a crowded restaurant a couple years ago, great restaurant. It is our favorite restaurant. And we're waiting for our food, and we're watching, and all of a sudden the busboy, and I don't mean that, derogatorily, but the person who was helping set the tables comes in, and my wife says, "Oh my gosh, look at this, Jeff." And he's grabbing the 4 water glasses with his, I don't know if they're clean hands or if they haven't been washed in a half hour, 4.5 hours, or 8 hours. I have no idea. But this is how he's grabbing the glasses, and then he puts the glasses down on the table and then moves them into position for everybody's drinking glass. Now the next group comes into that foretop. Oh, yay, we're here at our favorite restaurant. Yeah, I'll take some water. Thank you. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be drinking out of a grubby paw glass. But this was happening everywhere. So, we happened to tell the ownership about that, but how many people never said anything? And, how many people, did it bother? I don't know. How long it had been going on? I don't know. But again, think of that and think about your own business. Here's another situation. Great container. One of the best dog food containers I've ever purchased, we've ever had. We've had tons of dogs for 30 years now. And great, right? So about 2 months ago, I'm taking it out of the pantry and I go to fill up the dog's bowl. And I look down at our engineered hardwood floor and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this floor. It's destroyed. It's beat up. This thing is scratched. There's 30,000 scratches in this thing. I don't know how many, but there's a lot, right? Well, I picked this thing up. I said, it's got to be this, because we kind of push it in and then we pull it out. I pick it up. And all the tips where the injection molding finished on the bottom of this thing were rough. Nobody had ever sanded them off. So these plastic tips for I don't know how many months or years have been digging into our floor. And I mean, it's irreparable. So I took sandpaper and sanded them down, and there's no longer any sharp tips there. But it was just, it was just interesting that, that's how the manufacturer finished it. So again, making customers happy. Did anyone at the factory ever think that, wow, if this goes into a home and gets on a floor, I mean, could this scratch floors, countertops, wooden tables? I don't know where these people put them when they buy them from us, but is there something that this is going to damage if we don't fix it? So, that's what we're kind of focused on here, right? We're looking at little things like this that we miss a lot of the times about our own businesses. Now, why is this important? Well, you'll see this book hanging over my shoulder here, and you'll see these icons hanging over the other shoulder. So what we try to do is we put together a book that basically looks at overlooked and ignored business principles that surround themselves around the customer experience. Remember the Starbucks, the atmospherics. Think about all the little, just stories we've told here. Now, what the center of the book is, and the whole centrality of our efforts are focused on a TARP study I read in 1988. And it's what we call the silent business killer. So the TARP study said, hey, check this out. 26 out of 27 people who have a bad experience with a company never tell the company about the experience. The question's why? Well, because they don't expect anything to change. So 26 out of 27 people that saw this happen just didn't say anything. Well, guess what? If they consider this bad behavior, 91% of them never come back. Now, did the lady going up into the booth, I don't know, do you think she came back to that restaurant, or she will come back? Do you think she went home and told anybody about her experience? Now, here's the kicker. 91% of those people leave, right? And they never come back. A good portion of those people will go on to tell 9 to 10 colleagues about this negative experience. Could be friends, family, neighbors, whatever. So did that woman go and spread this negative story to 9 or 10 people? Or is she one of the 13% of the malcontents that go on to tell 20 or more people? So just think of that. This TARP study was suggesting that there's so many flaming arrows being shot at either you, your reputation, your company's reputation, your restaurant, whatever, right? And, you can't defend it. You can't hear it. Therefore, you can't defend it. But here's the kicker. We're saying, join us. We know it's happening. Our book is written all about that. are the icons in the book. These are the 8 drawers that we focus on. We put 255 tools in these 8 drawers you see hanging behind me. And we focus on this overlooked and ignored business principles that could stop the silent business killers from affecting your business and stop the negativity being shot at your business in the form of flaming arrows and comments and so forth and so on. Now, do we know for sure that these law of averages still stick? Well, I tell you what, I have been watching this since 1988. I decided to write my book in 1989, and I have been going through situational observation for 30 years, and I wanted to have ground level perspective. I wanted to see with my own eyes and hear with my own ears and walk through the mechanics of these things, the good, the bad, and the ugly myself. Well, by the grace of God, I've been able to work for 32 different companies in 9 different industries over that time. I own a sales agency, so that affords me a lot of exposure to different companies or multitudes of companies at a time. So that's kind of how I got up to the 32. But just think about this. I've been able to be involved in management in a couple of these companies, but the rest of them I've been able to immerse myself in the customer service machines. And I've been able to look and examine 32 customer service machines myself. Forget what I've read and listened to and other podcasts and seminars I've gone to and third-party influencers I've read in books. This is a host of material of living through the good, the bad, and the ugly to come to you with a book and with a weekly podcast that shares some of these insights that we have on how to question your business activities yourself, to see if you've got, plastic tips that haven't been sanded, if you've got grubby paws inside of glasses, you've got women who and men who are upset at the way you handled them at the restaurant, or the fact that you're just a small fry customer and I'm dealing with $250,000 customers. So you don't get anything from me until I'm done with the big boys. Is that really the kind of thing that you think is going to give people a smile and they're going to say, you know what, I can't wait to go back and do business with that company? No. They're probably going to end up being one of those 91% of the people that just never come back. And guys, if you're out there, if you're an executive, if you're a CEO, if you're a national sales manager, you're a chief marketing officer, you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, mompreneur, whatever you want to call it, and you're listening to this, understand this. Go back to the Starbucks sentence. We are serving coffee to people? No. We are serving people coffee. So whatever you do, whether you're in church ministry, whether you build decks, you remodel bathrooms, you have restaurants, you supply parts, anything you do, you have portfolios where you're managing people's wealth, you are serving people with that product or service. The team of horses pulling that experiential cart is embedded in the experience, right? I mean, I sit here in podcast with Half Coast Studios, and we've had a couple little glitches, nothing major. But why do I have a smile on my face all the time? Because these guys are serving me first, the podcast second. They know how to do it. And you need to be a company that has that and has that focus. And we need to be companies that have that focus. So there are some questions. Are you happy with your professional trajectory? If you are, okay. Or do you have an appetite, perhaps, for improving? Do you invite making small changes in your business? Would you invite making small changes in your business? Could you picture a ladder and just stepping up each rung of the ladder? Let's say every step up a rung is just 1% change. Really easy to implement, really easy to monitor, really easy to chart the results. And then if it works, it's there to stay. Imagine if you could make a bunch of those. Imagine if you could make 10. You'd have a 10% improvement in your company. Are you losing too many customers? Are you dealing with too many complaints? Do you avoid issues? I've run into tons of managers that would rather just let bad behavior and bad experiences continue because they don't know how to manage confrontation. Well, here's the scoop. You're not managing confrontation. You're just managing. You're making it confrontational. It doesn't have to be issue resolution, doesn't have to be a confrontational process, but this is embedded in issues is where so much of the opportunity to improve is hidden, right? So look at Sam Walton, and this is what I love about Sam Walton. Sam Walton, one of his rules in his book, he mentioned that at Walmart, to become big, they had to think small. Imagine that. Imagine that retail giant, that e-commerce giant saying that. And that's you and me. I mean, we're all small. We can find small changes that can have big impacts. Right? So, I mean, if it's good enough for Sam Walton, I say it's good enough for us. Right now, here's the deal. I'm not a guru. I have no crystal ball. I don't have all the answers. I mess up all the time. I constantly, say stupid stuff and I do dumb stuff and I upset customers and I upset associates. I do. There's no way I'm perfect. Now, what I will assure you of is that when I make a mistake, I dissect it, I figure out what went wrong, I make an attempt to correct it going forward. Do I always succeed? No. I don't know. I'm like a really good baseball hitter. Maybe I'm batting .330. I'm actually probably batting a little better than that on the improvement end. But still, I make tons of mistakes. So I'm never sitting here telling you that I got it all wired or I'm a bag of chips and all that. I'm not. But I don't claim to know what the answers are. But my goal is to get you to think about your business, stir your thoughts. And I do that with seriously a servant's heart, a loving heart, saying, I want to pay forward all these cool things I've been able to learn and uncover. Some of them I've uncovered, it's been cool to be able to be part of that process, but I want to share that with you. So we bring decades of focus to this program every week and to the book. We bring decades of situational observation. I started this process in 1989. I started writing the book in 2016. It self-published in 2019. So I got 30 years, right? And decades of learning from lessons learned. How cool is that? And I get kind of goofy, from time to time. I'm not afraid to do that. I like to have fun in business. I've worked for a company where it was oppressive. You couldn't have fun. You couldn't be seen smiling. Out the window with that. Bah humbug on that deal. So we love to kind of be goofy. And I'm with my grandkids. I'm like, you know what, dudes? You need a goofy grandpa. And that's, I don't know what it brings smile to people's faces. It brings frowns sometime. But come on, guys. Life's too short not to have fun. So we try to have a little bit of fun in the show. And we have a passion to tell stories. I love to share real life stuff with you. And, we value laughing. We just do. And we laugh at ourselves, almost more than we laugh at others, because I'll tell some stories that, lay it all out there for you, and you guys can say, oh boy, I don't know if I would have said that, but the guy said it, and I lived it. You're right. So what we do is we reduce things to a simplistic level. So what's really cool about the book is we say, hey, look, just think about your business this way, and this is how we do it. Think about your business as though it's a car. Think about your business journey as though you're on a mountainous road. Now, think about a tunnel ahead in the mountain that is the tunnel of happy customers, right? A happy customer is that destination, right? So you're on a mountain road in your car, that's your business, and you're going towards making a customer happy. You got a sheer drop off to the left. You've got a cliff to the right. Sheer drop off to the left is your silent business killing strikes. It's the things that could strike against your business. Off to the right is a lost customer. And we know from previous episodes that probably the cost of replacing a lost customer is 5 times greater than obtaining the customer in the first place. So that's what you have. And what we did, just like any mountainous road, we set up guardrails on both sides of the road. And what do those guardrails do? They protect you from going off and getting a lot of silent business killing strikes or losing customers. And they keep you in your lane going towards the happy customer. That's how we've broken the book down. Those 8 little icons in the background are picture a tool chest, right? Tool chest, like that old silver and red tool chest on wheels in your garage, right? That has 8 drawers. And in those 8 drawers are 255 timeless tools. So we give you some answers, we give you some ideas, and we ask a lot of questions and get you to think a lot about it. But that's it. That's how we simplify business. And those 8 icons behind me really represent kind of the circumference, that 360-degree circumference of the business. And so the podcast every week is we just take some of these things that we like to talk about and highlight that are experiential in nature and that can help your business grow. But if they're not addressed, they could be, and I'm not sure about this, but they could be hurting your business. So, that's why we do what we do. We love to pay these things forward and help you because we believe that this new business frontier is an experiential frontier. We are there. Perception is reality. Facts have kind of gone out the window in a lot of ways. And we live in this, how did you make me feel? How was that experience? I mean, that's just where we are today. And that's, we've got to come to terms with that. So your company, my company, everything we do, we're all designed to serve people first, right? So let's all be silent business killer hunters together, right? Let's hunt for these silent business killing strikes. We want to get rid of these nasty little critters, right? We want them out. Well, what are they? Well, we've already gone over what the SBKs are and how you can know that they're going to come because we know that bad behavior leads to 26 out of 27 people never saying anything to the company. That's a really powerful statement, and I don't think that's changed one iota since I've been looking at it 30 years, and I'd even argue it might even be more. So, again, we love to just stir your thought process, man. Come share your time with us every week. We would love to have you come aboard. We would love your comments on the shows too. We don't ask for them enough. So listen, we'd love you to go on the YouTube if you're watching on YouTube and comment on the show. We'd love 5-star ratings if we've earned it on any of the listening platforms. Please feel free to engage in that process and let us know through feedback how you like it. Again, we're doing our best. We're just trying to pour our hearts out and really help all of us. And I'm talking to myself a lot of the times too, but help all of us become better at what we do and understand that we serve people first with the products and services we have. So any rate, let's strive. I had a question. I did a podcast earlier today and someone said, how did you get to be an expert? And I said, I never use that term. I'm not an expert. And I never want to use that term because an expert to me closes the door on the posture of humility that says, hey, I've got room to improve. And I just, I'm always striving. I've never arrived. So I never will arrive because I'm always striving to do things better. And that's what I hope I can bring to your listening and viewing experience every week. So we would love your subscription. We're on YouTube. SimpleBiz360 is our channel. And just go on there, you subscribe. We'd love you to subscribe or put your comments in any one of the 28 listening channels. We are on IGTV for short monologues like this, for interviews over an hour. We don't make IGTV. We're on Gab TV, same thing. So we would love it if you join us. And I promise you, a great rock and roll story, St. Louis story today, right? Well, we end every show with what we call Lost in the Shuffle track. And what's a Lost in the Shuffle track? It's a track that's important to the person we're interviewing, or it's important to me, or it's played a part in rock and roll history. But it's in a lot of cases, it's taken a back seat. It's the 4th song on a record. It's not the one that made it to number 1. So it's kind of this hidden gem. It's kind of lost in the shuffle, and it's tucked back there. Now, today's isn't necessarily that way, but I just felt it was appropriate because we are talking about taking care of business, right? So you guys know I love the Guess Who. I've flown with Randy Bachmann and Burton Cummings before up to Toronto, not with them. I was on the plane. I got to talk to Burton Cummings and meet him for about 5 minutes, but I love the Guess Who. Well, Randy Bachmann peeled off from the Guess Who, and he started Bachmann Turner Overdrive. with a couple of his brothers and some other folks. And they started this Bachmann Turner Overdrive up in Canada. And they produced in 1973 BTO, the first edition, in early 73. Well, here's the cool part of it. So the radio station here in St. Louis, KSHE, right? KSHE, it was holding a benefit of some sort, and they lost all the participating bands. These bands bailed out, so they needed a band. So they turned to Bachmann Turner Overdrive, and they said, hey, you guys got an album, you got a band, you got some history behind you. Could you guys come down here and do this event? We need a big band. And, they were like, well, we haven't really done anything big yet, but yeah, we'll come down. So Casey said, we promise we'll play, your song on the radio. We'll get you exposure, and we'll try to set the table for you. Well, by the time, I guess, right around the benefit event, the record company contacted Randy Bachman and said, hey, what is going on in St. Louis? We just shipped out 10,000 records to St. Louis. And this is early 1973. And he said, what's going on in town? Well, we're doing a concert. They've been playing us every hour on the hour for a couple weeks now. And they, broadcast to 150,000 people in 6 states. Well, lo and behold, KSHE here in St. Louis, according to the band members, helped catapult their success. And later on that year, they produced Bachmann Turner Overdrive 2, late in 1973. And on that, you probably recognize 2 tunes. Let It Ride is one of them, and then Taking Care of Business. So we put the Lost in the Shuffle track up in the form of a card. It's up in the upper right-hand corner of your YouTube viewing experience. So you kind of have to click on that card when it appears. Usually Matt or Dietz will put it up there when we mention the song name, but it'll appear up there. You click on it, or anytime during the show, you can click on that little eye, and that'll take you to the Lost in the Shuffle track too. So we're going to put it right up there. Bachmann Turner Overdrive, 1973, right? Taking Care of Business. And folks, we love you to go for the ride with us. We really appreciate you tuning in. And as we say after every show, listen, it's how you do business. It's not the what you do business with so much, right? So if you want to improve the results, improve the how you do business. And look, there's enough ways to get answers in life question. Go out there and start doing your own research. Be a truth teller. We need more truth tellers. Turn off TV cable news. Turn on a podcast, right? Open up the Bible, man. There's so many cool stories in the Bible, and we just encourage you to sit down and pray. We know times are difficult, and more than anything, love the Lord God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And we will see you in 168 hours, like clockwork, next week. Take care and have a great week.